Hey guys, it's Travis with Beyond Quotas, and we're behind the scenes of our new podcast episode. It's about happiness. We're going to talk about one, how to find it, two, how to maintain it, and three, how to transfer it to others. Hope you like it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond Quotas. This is Off the Cuff Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day, and we're just bringing you a new episode called Happiness. We're excited about this one because it's something that everyone experiences. Obviously, you experience happiness, but you also experience frustration, anger, things that make you feel bad or just upset. And sometimes it's hard to kind of center you back into the happiness feeling. So we're going to kind of touch about that, not only from a personal perspective, but professionally, what you might find challenging when you're talking to a customer or in a sales experience, and how you can kind of center yourself back to that area of happiness that really then all of a sudden attracts the customer to how you are, and they ultimately start feeling happy and or become more positive than negative, and given the circumstances. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I think it's a good topic, and I think Travis has a lot of good points to talk about on this one, so I'm gonna let him kind of touch and go first, and then I'll kick in.
Yeah, so in regards to happiness, is we all always think about as far as happiness being a destination.
What do you mean?
We're trying to get to happiness.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
It's not necessarily it's a journey to get there. Like what's going to make me happy? Well, if I get a certain amount of wealth, I'll be happy. If I do this, if I find the right mate, I'll be happy. And so we look at it as a journey, but it's really honestly it's a mindset.
That's true.
Happiness is a decision. I'll paraphrase a quote by Abraham Lincoln: "Is a person is about as happy as he makes his mind up to be." And
say that one more time.
So a person is about as happy as they make their minds up to be.
Okay.
So again, it's a decision.
Yeah.
But the reason we bring the happiness part up, because we always think about as far as the, be enthusiastic when we're selling. Whether it's enthusiastic about the product or enthusiastic about, but it's really the enthusiasm. But why enthusiasm? What is it about enthusiasm that really resonates with people, that that creates a selling opportunity? What's that feeling that people get? And that's the thing. Like we catch the feelings of others. When someone is happy, enthusiastic, excited, whatever, we catch that. We want to be around that. And the reason for that is once we leave a situation, we leave an interaction, we walk away feeling a certain way. And if we feel good, we attach that good feeling to the person we talk to. So, and we're always moving towards happiness. We always moving towards being excited. We want to gravitate to people that make us feel good about ourselves. So that's really the kind of the aspect of happiness, and why it's important. Again, it's a transference of feeling. We want to, feel good. We want to make others feel good as well. So in terms of the happiness, that's kind of what we're going to talk about as far as what makes you happy. So what are you growing for?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I mean, I think, just to kind of touch on that point, because happiness is really, as I view it, is something that is often hard for people to find or achieve. And I know this might sound negative because it's I think reality. A lot of people dwell, and we kind of talked about this before we jumped on the podcast, was people really dwell on the negative parts of their lives very often.
Yep.
It'll sit and linger much longer than happiness would. And it kind of goes to the point that I said, happiness is an area of centering you as an individual and just yourself, right? And it's much easier to take you off balance and get you off that center than it is to come back to that center point. And so the center point is your happiness. And so if somebody is feeling down or just not feeling, happy with themselves or negative, to get them to that center point, they have to find an outlet, which we talked about, right? Finding a person or a friend that helps them get to that point. Finding an activity, whether it be the gym or yoga or whatever, to get to that point. But once you're happy, you're happy. There's nothing that needs to get you happy because you're there already. But it's much easier to knock you off that wall, right?
Well, again, kind of what alluded to as far as, we focus on the bad, but whatever you focus on expands.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, 10 things, 9 things are good, but 1 is bad. You focus on that 1 bad, and it manifests itself.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, your life is terrible and everything else. And I'm not, obviously, there's certain things, obviously, that we have to get through a loss of a loved one or whatever the case.
Sure.
So there's a lot of things that could throw us off, but for a lot of us, it's just a customer yelled at me for no apparent reason, or a customer yelled at me because somebody in our team dropped the ball, whatever the case. But we focus in on certain things that make the rest of it bad.
Mm.
And we can find those outlets. We can find, obviously, the people that lift us up, and the gym or whatever. But what are those things doing? Those things are really just allowing us to get our mind off of that one negative.
Right.
But also, we talk about, we've talked about in the past, like gratitude journals, and writing out different things in gratitude journals of what we're grateful for. And obviously there's some things that are tough, like what's really great, what am I grateful for in my life? Oh, I got a roof over my head. Okay, that's 1. I got food on the table. That's 2. But the thing is, with a gratitude journal, if you have to write it out every day, your mind starts to open up on things that, wow, like this I'm grateful for. I'll give you an example. Like the other day, I'm walking my dog around the neighborhood. He's almost 14 years old. I've had him, through thick and thin. Everything that, all the bad years of my life, the dark years of my life, I guess you can say. He's always been there. And like, we were walking, and he was doing some, goofy stuff like he always does. And I just started laughing. I started reflecting on the fact that I'm having the best time of my life. And he's been there ever since. Through the good and the bad, he's always been there. Always right by my side. And it's one thing, like, yes, I'm grateful for my dog, but it's the memories. It's the specific things that make me smile and immediately change my entire day. Like, I had some scenarios that were kind of rough patches during the day, but it immediately changed because of that one thing. But again, I wouldn't have noticed that. It would have been just overlooked. It had been a normal, everyday walk for me and my dog if I hadn't been writing in a gratitude journal. Because of the fact that it opened my mind up to new things and new possibilities. Because you can only write grateful for the roof over my head and the food on my table so many times where it gets repetitive. So that's just something, obviously, that has recently been kind of an eye-opening experience.
A good example, yeah. Yeah, and so I would go back to the point about what I was saying with, centering your happiness and how you're easily being able to take yourself off balance from that by a negative approach. And I kind of bring it to, I was thinking about it as an example. If you wake up one morning and you have a fine morning, you wake up, you're happy, you have a cup of coffee, you get on the road, it's rush hour, but you're okay because you're happy. All of a sudden, someone cuts you off. Or someone gives you the finger, or someone stops short. Now your day has gone from happiness to a potential snowball effect where it's starting now. You're angry, so that snowflake has now picked up. You get to work, someone spills something on you, or you have a ton of work that you weren't expecting, or something doesn't go right. Snowball, 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 right? It's much easier to take you off center, and it's much easier to go towards that negative path than you already being there and centering you back to happiness. There's many more opportunities or much more options out there to take you to that negative area than it is to bring you to that happiness. If you think about it, that same scenario, you wake up in the morning, you're pissed. You have a horrible already morning. Coffee sucks. You're not happy to go to work. You get on the road. You're already cutting people off. You're the angry one. You're the one doing all these things, and it just continues. There's only one or two things in your life that day that can bring you to happiness. Maybe it's getting home and seeing your kids. Maybe it's seeing your dog once you got home. Maybe it's, someone at work that decides to treat you for lunch. All of a sudden now you're back. But there's very little moments that get you there. But it's much easier to go negative, right? So I think, the point for me in this conversation or in this podcast is realizing those little wins and those little areas of success that give you that happiness, and really honing in on that, really concentrating on those things to bring you back to the happiness. Because it's almost, as crazy as it sounds, like negative feelings and negative vibes and always staying in an angry way almost takes time off of your life. You're shedding like a minute or an hour off of you because you're just pent up energy that is just not harnessed well. If you go towards that happiness and understand what happiness is and realize all the things like the gratitude journal, all the things that you can reflect back and say, these are the things that really make me happy in my life. And you know what? I do have these things. So that guy cut me off, big deal. That guy flipped me off, big deal. Because at the end of the day, I can recall back in my mind now that, hey, I have these things to live for and I'm super happy about it, right?
It's funny that you mentioned that. As far as when you have the guy, and this is because I used to be the same way. Like, somebody cut me off or whatever, I'd get, pissed off and
road rage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hope not road rage, but
yeah.
but probably.
Right.
But the thing is, like, the thing I realize is the person that cut me off doesn't think about me at all.
No.
The rest of the day. They have no idea that they just caused an entire avalanche of emotions and that will affect me for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. But it's the perspective like, hey, he doesn't think about me or she doesn't think about me, so I shouldn't be thinking about this scenario. Obviously, they were, they were rushed.
Right.
So they didn't leave early enough and everything else. And the one thing I learned way back when I was working in a rental car company, and cars weren't there, and like it was frustrating because we have 30 minutes for our next appointment. We have 0 cars whatsoever. We have no chance. And they reserved a certain car, and like we don't have it. Mm-hmm. But you can't call the customer and say, hey, by the way, we don't got your car.
Right.
But here's the thing that always worked, and this is kind of the idea, and this this is what has given me my patience since those rental car days, is things always work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always. Mm-hmm. If you're having a rough patch, something is going to come along that's going to make that rough patch feel like nothing. Mm-hmm. For instance, our Houston story. That sucks. We look back and like, that sucks.
Yeah.
At the time, we're thinking like our life is over. Like it's
right.
done.
Right.
We are.
I have nothing more to live for. Yeah.
So the thing that if you just have the faith or the notion of like nothing can happen today that's going to change anything. Mm-hmm. There's a book called Flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is the author, but he talks about happiness being just being in the moment. And it's tough for us because we think about obviously the long term, we think about the future, we got to do this, and this. But if we actually just take every day moment by moment and actually really be in the moment, we'll find that obviously nothing can affect us.
Right.
Everything is good. We, again, to circle back on the sales aspect, like we're in the moment of that interaction. Getting to know that customer on an intimate level and the personal level.
Yep.
And that connection, that feeling we establish, rapport, however you want to call it, that's going to set the tone for the rest of our relationship.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about as far as the happiness, bringing that happiness in. One, getting that happiness, but obviously bringing that into every situation that we have. That's going to get us long-term success. And again, there's certain things that obviously knock us off, like you said, knock us off center, that get us into a negative spot. But again, going back to the point of like being in the moment, realizing that everything's going to work out. We don't have anything to worry about. That's, to me anyway, that's how happiness is created, because again, it's a decision. Everything's good.
Yeah. And so to even add to your decision part is from a career aspect or an example. Previous company I was at, the culture was rather negative, was difficult, was hard to handle and deal with. And I made the decision that my happiness was more important than to stay in a career that, though I might have been successful in, I may have not been happy to work for. And think about that for a minute, right? I mean, a lot of people are so focused on success as it is related to monetary and or growth within a company. And as important as that is, and that's up there for me, it is just as important for me to be happy in what I'm doing. If I'm unhappy in what I'm doing, then I'm more than likely going to have a really tough time to succeed, right? Because you're not focused, you're not in the moment. But as a person like myself and as Travis, when we set ourselves to a goal, which we've talked about in the past, we focus on that goal and we take the steps necessary to get there. But along the ride, you want to make sure that you're happy through that process, right? You want to make sure that you're in, not to say focus, but you're driven and you're motivated to go towards that goal. And if you're just doing it just to say I reached a goal, then it's not worth it, for me at least. So that's where that happiness piece comes in. So I say all that to say, when I worked for this company, the culture was really, really difficult.
Did you try to recruit me at one point?
Yes, that was the company I tried to recruit
Thanks,
you
man.
for. Right? No problem.
Appreciate it.
Well, the person you would have worked for would have been okay. But anyways, so, and I bring this back to full circle because I recently talked to a couple of colleagues that have worked there or were working there and just jumped ship and we kind of talked behind the scenes, and the main core reason for them, as it was for me, was the culture, right? And not being happy with what they did and with the environment. And work environment is important. So as I relate it to a career, to even piggyback to that, I actually was messaging a couple of colleagues of mine in my current company and on LinkedIn, because we were talking about some stuff, and it was about 7 of us on this chat. And part of the conversation was about how happy we are in the current company that we're in because of the culture and because of the way that leadership is there versus where we all came from, which were about 2 or 3 different companies, and how poor the culture was. So it's important, that you're happy not only in your personal life and what, you do, but also in your professional life. Not only how you are, like Travis was saying, exuding it out to your customer and how they can feel and get that sense of happiness from you and obviously build that relationship and that empathy, but also how you are bringing that happiness into yourself, because how you bring it into yourself is going to actually affect the people around you, your family, your friends. You hear it all the time where you go to work and you bring work back home. What does that mean? It means you're bringing that negative vibe, the frustration that you dealt with that day, and you're bringing it home. But why? Why would you do that? what do you gain from that? Nothing. Maybe the only gain that I can potentially see is that you have the ear of the person that you know is going to turn it to happiness for you, like your significant other in this case, that you want to just have, a shoulder to cry on, let's just say, in a most rudest term, I guess, and allow them to listen to your struggles, and then they bring you back to that full circle saying, or that center, and saying, it's okay, let's just pass that now, and you're happy again. Maybe that's the only time that I can understand that, but those are the things that you don't want to bring back home. That's the negative piece that you don't want to deal with. And those are the decisions that you have to make. And the happiness piece is a decision that you need to make. Again, going back to the comments we made, to get you to where you want to be centered and happy with what you do. Don't stick around just because you feel that it's going to be successful. Don't stick around just because you think it's supposed to be what you need to do. Do something for yourself and for the others around you that are going to make you happy. Happiness, as crazy as it sounds and as simple as it is one of the most important pieces in your life, and what's going to really excel you to get to where you want to be from a goal perspective, from a personal, professionally, and just overall just a good health, in and out, for a person in general. We talked about some of these things in our earlier podcast about, I think it was 5 key, things in your life, or, to really kind of pursue, and health was one of them. If you're, like negativity affects a lot of things health-wise. It can, your mind is connected to all the nerves and neurons throughout your body. Mm-hmm. And those, the way that you build this mind and utilize the mind and how it affects that channels through the rest of your body. So if you in turn are negative, you're going to ultimately start feeling pains and things and, things of that nature. And that's just all part of that. I mean, there could be obviously true natural pains, but a lot of that has to do and be affected by the brain. So turn that around. Start feeling happy. Realize the difference that it'll affect and what it can do for you and how you feel and how much more you can accomplish by being happy and making that decision to be happy. So
yeah, as far as the health aspect, a large percentage of illnesses are self-induced,
right,
or mental. Not mental, and then but the stress, the negativity, and everything else, they affect you. A quick exercise for you, to get out there. Practice smiling in the mirror. And obviously it's kind of weird, so just bear with me here. A genuine smile, where the corners of the mouth are upturned, the crow's feet, are created under the eyes. But smiling at others. You mentioned obviously the mind, Gio, we have what's called mirror neurons. Mm-hmm. So when someone smiles at us, our mirror neurons are activated. Whether we know it or not, we smile as well. Smiling, as they say, is contagious. Mm-hmm. We can't help but smile. We look at pictures of people smiling. Again, they're activated. We start smiling as well. So to create the feeling of others, I want you to try that. I want you to see this for yourself. When you walk by someone, make eye contact. Make sure obviously they're looking as well, and then have a genuine smile at them. Watch them smile back at you. And I'm not talking about a quick glance,
right.
Lips,
genuine smile, yeah.
Teeth, genuine smile. Mm-hmm. They'll smile back at you. Prove it to yourself that it can be done as far as transferring feeling. But also, here's another thing. It's impossible, and yes, I say impossible. It's impossible to smile and be negative. Think about that. They always say smile through the pain or whatever. Practice smiling. Again, it creates the brain is activated whenever you smile, so it creates a happiness. That is, again, we're trying to practice that and everything else and exude that, but it's just, again, another exercise to help you out. But I thought it would be necessary to.
you were going on a good tangent, so I didn't want to, throw in a sarcastic comment. Like the people that do know me very well, that follow us, know how sarcastic I am. So I was gonna say, oh, you didn't want to do the Chandler smile, from Friends. That so, no, I mean, to wrap it up, you hit it on the nail when you said it earlier about, it's a decision. It's something that you ultimately have control of, really. And there's nothing more to say about that. It's you are in control of your happiness. And so however you find it, whether it be from an outlet of a person or an activity, like I said earlier, or some other way, or just, writing it out, things of that nature are things that you focus on, and you'll be able to be happy through your life, because believe me when we tell you that it's absolutely paramount in your life to be able to not only be successful in your career and your personal life, but just to feel good from a health perspective, as we touched on. So mentally and physically. So keep this in mind, and be happy, smile. There it is. So we appreciate your time on this one, guys. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Thank you.